The sound of winter in baseball is deceptive. It isn't silence. It's murmurs. Rumors traveling faster than flights. Executives speaking in half sentences. Fans refreshing timelines, waiting for a move that explains everything. For the Toronto Blue Jays, that sound changed the moment one name crossed the wire. KAZUMA Okamoto. 4 years. $60 million. A statement made not at the trade deadline, not in October, but in the cold clarity of the offseason. On paper, it looked bold, international, calculated. In reality, it cracked open a debate that cuts to the core of what Toronto believes it is and what it's willing to become. Because when the Blue Jays signed Okamoto, they didn't just add a bat. They chose a direction, and not everyone agrees with where that road leads. Okamoto arrives with numbers that demand respect. Nearly 250 home runs in Japan, elite contact rates, plate discipline, power that doesn't rely on guesswork. He's not a lottery ticket. He's a finished hitter, approaching 30, built to step into a lineup and contribute immediately. Toronto wanted offense. They got it. But in baseball, context matters more than talent alone. Almost immediately after the deal became public, a familiar voice stepped into the conversation. Jim Bowden, former general manager, longtime MLB insider, a man who has lived inside front offices and understands how money echoes long after it's spent. Speaking on the Foul Territory podcast, Bowden didn't question Okamoto's ability. He questioned the choice. I like the player, but I don't like the fit. That distinction matters. Bowden's criticism wasn't rooted in skepticism of Japanese hitters. It wasn't dismissive. In fact, he praised Okamoto's bat openly. The swing, the power, the on-base skills, the ability to put the ball in play and draw walks. This wasn't about whether Okamoto can hit. It was about what Toronto gave up by deciding he was the answer. Because in Bowden's mind, $60 million wasn't just a contract. It was an opportunity cost, one that might have closed doors the Blue Jays had been knocking on all winter. Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette, names that carry weight, not just in box scores, but in postseason matchups. Names tied to defense, athleticism, and star-level impact on both sides of the ball. I'd rather see that money go for Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette, Bowden said, or both. That's the heart of the controversy. Toronto didn't miss on Tucker or Bichette. They may have chosen not to chase both, and that choice has consequences. Last season, the Blue Jays weren't defined by explosive offense. They were defined by something quieter, rarer, and harder to replicate. Defense, range, efficiency, clean innings that suffocated opponents before rallies could start. By Bowden's assessment, Toronto was the best defensive team in the American League. That wasn't an accident. It was an identity, built intentionally, protected carefully. And this is where Okamoto complicates the picture. He can play first base. He can play third base. But he doesn't elevate a defense. Bowden didn't mince words. Below average at third. Limited range. Functional, not transformative. And in a division where margins are thin and games are decided by inches, that matters. To Bowden, Okamoto isn't a bad player. He's a disruptive fit. A bat that pulls the Blue Jays away from what made them elite. This is the risk every contender faces. Improve one area, weaken another. Add power, sacrifice range. Gain production, lose flexibility. Toronto's front office believes the trade-off is worth it. They believe October is won with runs, that the postseason demands hitters who can change a game with one swing. And they may be right, but the signing doesn't exist in isolation. It reshapes the board. With Okamoto under contract, roster math tightens, payroll flexibility narrows. And according to Bowden, the Blue Jays are likely no longer positioned to land both Tucker and Bichette. One, possibly. Both, unlikely. That's not a failure. It's a fork in the road. Bo Bichette represents familiarity, continuity, a known star who fits the city, the clubhouse, and the timeline. Kyle Tucker represents something different, an elite, all-around force capable of redefining an outfield and anchoring a championship run. Okamoto sits between those ideas. Not a replacement, not a mirror. A different bet entirely. And that's why this signing feels bigger than its dollar value. It tells us how Toronto views risk. They chose certainty over bidding wars, production over projection, a controlled asset over a potentially franchise-altering splash. For fans, that's unsettling, because the Blue Jays were close, painfully close, and when you're that close, every decision feels like it either pushes you over the edge or pulls you back. Okamoto didn't arrive to universal celebration. He arrived to questions. Can his bat translate immediately? Can the defense hold? Will this decision age well if Tucker or Bichette lands elsewhere and thrives? Those answers won't come in March or April, or maybe even July. They'll come in October, under pressure, with seasons hanging on a few pitches. For now, the Blue Jays stand at an intersection of philosophies. One voice says this move stabilizes them. Another says it narrows their ceiling. Both can be true, because baseball isn't about right or wrong in January. It's about consequences in October. KAZUMA Okamoto is a Blue Jay. The money is spent. The direction is chosen. Now the only question left is the one that defines every off-season gamble. Did Toronto just make the move that completes the puzzle, or the one that changed the picture forever? Let us know what you think.